No, that home was not occupied. It's in one of the flood-prone areas that we have identified since the fire and the flood last year. So, we've gone, we notified.
That is insane. Imagine you just looking on social media because you know the flood, you already evacuated, and you just see your home floating down the river. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the New Mexico flooding. So let's jump right into that.
Welcome back here to Live now from Fox as we continue to follow the devastating flooding in central Texas. We're also giving you a live look of Ruidoso, New Mexico. Broken tree limbs, twisted metal, crumpled cars, muddy debris remain as crews are working to clear roads in the wake of a flash flood. I did want to head over to Robert Ray with our Fox weather team. He is live out there joining us. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning to you. I wish I had better news to report from this beautiful part of America. Ruidoso, New Mexico in the mountains, and look at this. You see behind me the vehicle that is on top of a tree, sitting on top of rocks, steel, and it is wrapped. And this is the Rio Ruidoso River.
That is wild. You can see the red X or the orange X means that they already searched that for survivors. That is absolutely wild. The water pushed the whole truck on top of a fallen down tree, steel. What is it? Is that another car up under it? That is crazy.
It looks quite calm right now, but 2 days ago, just several inches of rain fell in the mountains around here and created an absolute hellscape where the water rose 19 to 20 feet in just 35 minutes, came down the mountainside and ravaged structures, vehicles, livelihoods, and took the lives of 3 people, including a 4 and 7-year-old little kid. Just terrible, terrible news. Now, I want to explain to our viewers how this happened. You may say, 3 inches of rain, how can that happen where 19 to 20 feet rise and all of this destruction? A year ago, in this area in the mountains were historic wildfires. And what that created was burn scars, okay? So when they fought these fires and put them out, the first frontal firefighters moved through these pockets, creating, ditches. And there was natural ditches created also by the fires. And those ditches essentially act as, if you've ever been on a water slide at a water park or a water tube, there's many of these escape routes for water. So it falls from the atmosphere and it heads down the mountain on these burn scars. And then it all conglomerates into a river basin. Well, this time the Rio Ruidoso River. And the rise from all that water that came from all these areas created the wall of water that came into Ruidoso. And that is the flash flood scenario. Now, here's the other interesting thing.
So he said 3 inches of rain caused, 19 to 20 feet rise just because it all converged in one area. That is insane. Let's keep going.
People had alerts that this potentially could be a flash flood emergency. And they got those from the National Weather Service. They got those from their phones and the Fox Weather app if they had it. The problem is that a lot of people here, just like over in Texas, in Kerrville and the other counties in Hill Country, people are talking about how there needs to be even more warning on top of those smartphone alerts. And there maybe needs to be sirens. This is the second time that this area has been in a flash flood emergency in 2025. Obviously,
So the second time in 2025 and they ain't got sirens yet? No. You got to have, like I said before, you got to have sirens to where if somebody's close by, it's going to bust some eardrums. You got to wake up everybody in the whole, around the whole place. Wake up everybody. Let's keep going.
Explanation of the burn scars hopefully helped as to why this occurred. But there is a lot of questions that are being tossed around. In the meantime, the mourning of the loss of the 3 people here, including 2 children. And it just doesn't get any worse than that, especially on top of what happened in Kerrville and the at least 30 little girls killed at Camp Mystic and still many missing. This has been a horrific week for flooding across America, from North Carolina to Chicago to Texas to now here in New Mexico. Monsoon season is upon us here in the Southwest, and let's hope it is not hardy, but it definitely could be. People need to be on alert. Back to you.
That is wild. But let's go over to the next video. So there's just more about the flooding that happened in Mexico. That is crazy. New Mexico.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox 1232 on the East Coast and 932 on the West Coast. Video showing the aftermath here of extreme flash flooding in southern New Mexico. You can actually watch there in real time as a business is flooded by the water that is moving very fast. This is from the village of Ruidoso, where officials say at least 3 people are confirmed dead, including 2 very young children. The 3 victims were caught in rushing
Look at the water
floodwaters and
rise.
carried
Oh,
downstream, we're told,
God.
as the river rose to record levels. I do want to bring in Mayor Lynn Crawford of Ruidoso.
You got to think about how much the businesses suffered. All these businesses suffered because of this. So much money is lost, inventory. The damage is unimaginable. Gee.
To discuss a little bit more about all of this. Mayor, I know you are very busy. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Well, thank you for having us.
Of
Appreciate
course. And first off, I did want to ask you how everything did happen here just several days ago as the rain started. Kind of walk me through all of that.
Well, it was just a beautiful day. You know, we're in our monsoon season, and so we're expecting light rains continually. This is when we get our moisture. It's really one of the most beautiful times of the year. Well, started out like any other day, but we're very much aware of the fire and the burn scars that we had last year. So we have crews always on alert. We're dealing with the meteorologists constantly. We showed that there was a storm system that was possibly going to build, and it was going to start around 1 to 4 o'clock building. We had a 1 p.m. council meeting that we were just starting when I got notified that the system had changed and was intensifying very quickly. So we dismissed all of our first responders. They were getting pre-positioned, and then a little after 2 p.m., the skies opened up, and we received 3.5 inches of water of rain in about 90 minutes. Unfortunately, a lot of that hit that burn scar, and so shortly after, we had a wall of water, waves of walls of water between 8 and 10 feet tall that just constantly ran through the community, taking away homes.
8 to 10 feet tall walls of water. That's insane.
I'm sure you've seen the dramatic video of an entire home caught up in a river that just
Definitely saw
moments
that.
before you could have jumped across. And now I've got a 1,500 square foot home floating down the river, along with cars, propane tanks, and anything else that got in its way.
And I'm actually going to pull up that video for folks who have not seen it just yet. You can watch their video captured as that home is actually floating through. And I didn't know, have you heard if anyone was inside, if there were any injuries there? What do we know about that specific situation?
No, that home was not occupied. It's in one of the flood prone areas that we have identified since the fire and the flood last year. So, you know, we've gone, you know, we notified.
That is insane. Imagine you just looking on social media because you know the flood, you already evacuated, and you just see your home floating down the river. Like, oh my God. That is absolutely crazy.
The people that there it is right there, that their homes are in a floodplain, so that they need to be aware. And when they get the alerts, they need to go ahead and move to higher ground. And so, fortunately, there was no one in that home.
And you
I'm thinking about the person recording this. That is crazy.
talked a little bit about the rain itself, the fires that had burned a while back there. Has this area of New Mexico ever seen anything like the flooding that we're looking at right here on your screen?
Well, not since the earliest that I've seen any documentation and pictures were from 1941. And then last year, after the June 17th fire, in 2024, the South Fork, and then the Salt Fire, you know, we saw significant flooding after that, but nothing like this.
Do we have an idea just yet if there was a warning or an emergency of some kind that was issued? Is that something that is clear, or is it still being looked into as, again, this just happened a couple days ago?
Right. No, it was, there were many warnings that were sent out. 5 warnings. We have a multi-layered stack system. Your IPOS system, which is when you're in an area, that's the National Weather Service, that they will send out a report in your phone. Anybody with a cell phone on a carrier, you get that alert if you're in that area. We have the Call Me Ruidoso system, which is much like it is a reverse 911 system. That's an opt-in system that people opt into. We have our local radio stations. We have constant updates on social media. And then at the last is the full siren system, which
So they have siren systems. Okay. Golly. Now thinking about it, this happened at 1 o'clock. I think they said that where it started intensifying, or they knew it was going to intensify. So it didn't happen early in the mornings, which I'm assuming saved many more casualties from happening. But still, they still lost 3 people, and I believe they said 2 of them were little kids. So, like always, same thing with Texas. We got to keep everybody in our prayers, pray for them. I'm going to say this all the time. Mother Nature is very scary, so you got to be prepared. But let's keep going, finish up this video.
Misspoke. That's not our last point of system. The last point of contact is we go door to door in those flood prone areas. But people are asking why we didn't set off the citywide alert system, which is a signal to evacuate the community. And the last thing we wanted to do was to get people that were safe in high ground in their vehicles to get out of town and put them in harm's way. Because the way these floods happen, they come so quickly. And then after a short period, they're gone. And so last thing we wanted to do is get a lot of folks out in cars at stop signs in low-lying areas.
Mayor, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and discuss this a little bit further. As I mentioned, I know you do have a lot going on, so we definitely appreciate your time.
Now that is wild. Just from 3-4 inches of rain, they got 8 to 10 feet of water raw just because it all converged on one area. Now, see, they're not trying to blame anyone. Like you hear a lot of people over in Texas trying to blame people, but it's a sad flooding season for everyone around. That is crazy. All right, everybody, remember this is AC Reviews the Word. Remember to like and subscribe.